good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of What Now? It has been a tremendous heavy week, so I have moved my my talks to this week. Last week I took a little break, and today we're continuing with a very special guest who just joined us already. His name is Halim Flowers. Let me get him in here already. He is not which is good. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna wait to 302. I was gonna wait to 302 to tune in, but
That's okay. Let me pin this for everyone so this stays on here. Okay, so as I was saying, I took a break for a week because all around the world it's just been crazy, and I had to breathe. No pun intended, but I had to take a break for my own sanity in order to be able to have these conversations again. For those of you who are tuned in, who haven't tuned into one of my What Now talks, the talks are actually inspired to motivate people that were down and out and frustrated about the corona situation. And now the whole world is actually moved up a notch from corona to Black Lives Matter, anti-racism all around the world. So another virus that is literally killing everyone, and for hundreds of years, not just the past few months. Halim, welcome. Thank you for joining me in this talk. I appreciate you taking the time out to be my guest.
thanks for having me.
One of the things that I obviously wanted to talk to you about is being locked down or locked up, so to speak. For those who are tuned in who do not know Halim Flowers, Halim actually hit me up based off of the talk that I had with Marlon Peterson, mutual friend. And Halim sent me his story, told me his story, and it was just heartbreaking to me. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got locked up at age 16?
Sure.
We will get to the arts part. I just want to do a little, build up to that.
Your lead, I'm following your lead. I think you're a great interviewer. So for me, January 21st, 1997, I was 16 years of age in Washington, D.C., in the United States of America, and I was falsely accused of being with someone who shot and killed someone. And this crime had happened in a drug house. And this, of course, this happened in 1997. So to put things in perspective, in 1990s, in the 90s, DC had the highest murder rate per capita of any city in America. And DC had the highest incarceration rate of any city in the world for like a 20-year stretch. So, and then add on top of that, you had people like First Lady Hillary Clinton and Senator Joe Biden at that time, who had latched on to this report that had came out of Princeton University that labeled my generation of young black boys as fatherless, jobless, godless, super predators. And his theory was that that we needed to be charged as adults and placed in prison for the remainder of our lives to protect us from harming the public.
That's ridiculous. That in its own is just, for me, coming from the Netherlands, Europe, having a completely different culture, even in the 90s, is just so outrageous. And for me, having grown up in the 90s, seeing movies, particularly as well, black movies about, ghettos and crime and drugs in the United States, it's just so far from my world. So when you hit me up and I read your story, I just didn't know what to say. Like, it's to me, it's just crazy that people can do that. But then again, the United States has a lot of things that are weird to us. Going into that, 22 years you were there. When I saw the 16-year-old you in the documentary,
Mm-hmm.
it was so insane to see how mature you were for that age, how you were speaking to your mother, not as a 16-year-old boy, but as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing that stood out to me most. The whole attitude that you had. And I understand that you can't show weakness over there, or you have to man up, and you obviously didn't want your mother to be even more hurt. But it's just growing. It's like you didn't have a childhood.
When you're raised in an urban, densely populated community, a city that, when crack cocaine hit, it hit America in a way that no drug had ever hit before. And the resulting high level of gun violence that ensued, it just made you numb. It made you numb. If you didn't numb yourself and develop a certain level of callousness to suffering and fatality, you really would have just died from within, from despair.
Right.
You would have developed ulcers and bust your
Yeah.
It just was too much. It was just too much to allow.
No, I can definitely see that.
To allow themselves to feel the reality of hearing gunshots and seeing people get killed every day in your neighborhood.
Yeah. And so, my stepdaughter just got in here. She just graduated today. Love you too, Bree. Proud of you. So going in there, I guess having to have that self-defense mechanism to, stay sane, mm-hmm. must have helped getting, incarcerated at age 16. Mm-hmm. But my biggest question, I think a lot of people that don't have any knowledge of this or have never been in touch with law enforcement even, how long did it take you to stop being angry when you got sentenced?
It was like phases.
Right.
Because you still feel anger, but it's like the process of beginning to mitigate, I believe it came when I read a book called The Spirit of a Man by Iyanla Vanzant, who has the show called Fix My Life on the Oprah Winfrey Network. But this was before then. I read this book like in 2002 or 3. I was like 22, 23 years of age. And she spoke so eloquently about forgiveness and how we approach each other in life, and we're both wounded, right?
Yeah.
And she gave a narrative about like it was a female doe approaching a wounded male buck, and she's trying to approach him to help him heal, but he's afraid.
Right.
He keeps attacking her and attack her, and then she eventually get mad and attack him, and they both leave off injured and die off. Yeah. And of us are so wounded with trauma. So that was that moment in 2002, 2003 when I recognized what trauma was, and that me holding on to anger against my father for getting on drugs or against racism in the system, it wasn't going to improve my situation.
Right.
Heal me from within. But that was like the beginning of
the healing.
Right. But the end, like what I could say, like the apex that took me over the hump is when I read a book called The Essential Teachings of a Vietnamese Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh.
Okay.
I started to read Thich Nhat Hanh and another guy named Eckhart Tolle who wrote the book.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I read those things. Those kind of like took me over the,
So over how many years? A span of how many years was that? Would you say?
From like 2003 when I read Iyanla Vanzant, and then in 2010 is when I read Eckhart Tolle. I read Eckhart Tolle in 2008, but Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk, that was in 2010. And from there, once I encountered his literature, it helped me to put certain things in perspective that I was studying as a Muslim. I just couldn't get into the spirit of it. I was more into like the letter of the law and going through rituals like praying and fasting. But, I guess it's because I was turning 30. I mean, it could have just couldn't have been like it could have been a book, but it could have just been me just progressing as a human being.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
And so there are a couple of things that stand out to me in what you're telling me. First is how good you are with the years, the dates. I can't remember what date I did what if my life depended on it. And the second is reading was essential for
Mm-hmm.
your own healing, your own progress. Obviously, you have a lot of time to read when you're inside,
Mm-hmm.
but still, even now, again, it's not a comparison to what people are going through now, but people have been in a lockdown. We're all frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so what to do with your time, the whole goal of this talk is to inspire people no matter what their situation is. And you're the perfect spokesperson for that. So read a book, people. If anything, read a book for your own progress. Learn and soak up the knowledge, which is something that in the short time that I've known you, I know you are really open to do.
Also, like I don't, because one of my mentors named Ernest Smith, he pointed this out to me. He was like, we put so much emphasis into reading because we was incarcerated and we didn't have access to the internet and social media. But and reading is good; it works parts of the brain. However, the goal of reading is to obtain information that can be utilized to improve your life and the life of others.
Yeah.
If you're not naturally enthusiastic about reading, being outside, you have access to so many documentaries.
Yes.
Some people might like audio books. Some
Yes.
people like visual because in Kemet, which they changed the name to be Egypt, when you see our hieroglyphics, you see that we taught through pictures. We didn't have like letters or opinions. So a lot of times I think that we as African people in the Western European educational system is not because we innately less intellectually inclined than them, but that we genetically in our ancestral history learned through imagery.
Yeah.
So we're attracted to things like Instagram because it's like the scroll is like the hieroglyphics. We're learning through videos. Yeah. So I think
it's really interesting that you say that because I didn't put those things together yet. And I've been talking, obviously, a lot the past week about the similarities between Asian culture. I'm mainly Asian and I'm European and Pacific Islander, and African and South American culture. Mm-hmm. We all, from way back, come from tribes. Mm-hmm. And tribes are cultures and communities where they also used drawings and pictures and all of that to document the lives and the culture, right. Which is why they still find drawings from millions of years ago, so to speak, everywhere in those places. So I didn't make that link yet, so thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, that's very important because when you study history, when you study anthropology and archaeology, the main thing that guides and instructs historians about how civilizations were during those times is through paintings.
Yeah.
Through paintings. They really look at the paintings. That's how, like, when people try to say that the Moors were not, dark-skinned people, they look at the paintings. They're like, well, all of the paintings are these dark-skinned people, and they were not slaves because they have turbans with crowns and jewels, so the inform us. That's why, as artists and particularly painters at this moment in history is so we have such a great duty and obligation
to document this time,
authentically.
Yes. And that's what you're doing.
Racial leanings, because a lot of times stuff get whitewashed.
Oh yeah. I spoke to a photographer as well, and he said he was doing the same thing. My way of documenting this time that we're going through right now are these talks. Mm-hmm. The content that I create through here. The talks that I have will show how we stayed inspired and motivated during this time, mm-hmm. Which is something that you do through your art as well. Aside from reading, you wrote and published books. Mm-hmm. How did you discover your love for writing? Because like you said, if you don't necessarily like to read, you can, you know, obtain knowledge in a different way. But how did you start writing?
Um, First of all, the book that changed my life, just changed my life intellectually, is a book titled Solidarity Brother, by a man named George Jackson, who was incarcerated when he wrote the book. He had an indeterminate life sentence as a teenager as well. But in his book, Solidarity Brother, which is a composition of his letters that he wrote to society, he states that the greatest impetus that any man will ever have in life will come from a woman who he admires the most. So me gaining interest in literature and writing came from me being incarcerated, being a heterosexual man who was attracted to women, and not having access to exchange intimately with women except through letters and visits, phone calls. So in the early portion of my incarceration, I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement, so I couldn't get to the phone and get visits. So we would learn how to write these love letters and these poems. And unbeknownst to me, I never knew that I had a way with words. But when the documentary came out, the Thug Life in D.C., a lot of young ladies was writing me from all over the world, and I would write them letters, not knowing that I was developing a skill to articulate feelings. And I didn't know that at that time that in the world, right, men are so indoctrinated to not be emotional.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Emotions. So when I learned how to tap into my emotions and my feelings and articulate them in a poetic way, it just developed my interest, because that was the only way I can get a girl to come see me.
Right.
But that's when you're in prison, that's the highlight of your visit. You want a female to come see you. So, and you know, you have to be real good with that pen to get a woman to stop doing what she's doing in her life to come see you, and you have 2 life sentences.
Yeah.
Right. So
what you were 16 when you went in. Did you have any experience with a girl already before you went in?
I mean, I had
like, did you have a girlfriend? Or
I wasn't a virgin, but you know,
but not love, like yeah, because you were so young. Okay. So the writing, and then I mean, I'm just honestly, I look at your story, and I'm struggling with writing one book at this moment, and you wrote 11 books. Aside from the fact that our lives were different and you had probably had enough time when you were locked up, it doesn't matter. You have to have some type of determination to write a book. And then you got released a little over a year ago, and you've accomplished like 10,000 more things than I probably have ever done. So that to me inspires me to do better and to do more. And the books, all the 11 books, I couldn't find them because obviously I want to read the books. I found one book from you online.
You don't have Amazon over there?
Oh yeah, you know what? I did not look on Amazon because there's a website over here that I use, and they actually do have a lot of books from overseas. I will look up the rest. I mean, I'm not going to read all 11 of them at one time, but definitely want to read. Okay, so you said you were writing letters. How did that make you feel when the documentary came out and people started writing you?
It gave me a glimmer of hope, because I knew that, you know, I was a street guy. I was no angel, but I didn't kill that guy, and I wasn't in the house when that guy got killed. And I always believed in karma, like what you put out comes back. And I knew that if more people would know about my story, that it would be only a matter of time before I would be able to galvanize a movement for me to get out one way or another. And it just gave me like a glimmer of hope at that time. And so many other things just happened throughout the 22 years where, you know, you sometimes you get tired of something to come through, and it gives you that hope, you know. And
so what are some of the things, the moments that really changed something in you during those 22 years? What are some things that you can describe were significant in your life growing as a person while you were inside?
The first thing I say, like, really like getting into, like, because I was born in a Muslim family, but I never like studied it.
Right.
So committing to like studying my faith and learning the Arabic language and learning Arabic grammar and gaining like not just like a more like a dogmatic approach to my faith, but a real deep spiritual connection to the Creator, right? And then when I read the book The Solidarity Brothers by George Jackson, he was talking about things like capitalism and socialism, uh, guerrilla warfare. I mean, he was talking about so many things that made me feel stupid that I didn't know about Patrice Lumumba and Che Guevara and,
Right.
Joseph Lenin and Stalin and Mao Zedong. So I just was like, whoa, I don't know nothing. So he the one that made me see that all of our problems were not racial in the root, they were economical in the
Right.
as a ruse to disguise the economic bias that was going on, right? So he went through me reading George and made me get more into studying economics, finance, and banking. And then I met a guy who introduced me like to the Wall Street Journal and the Forbes, and I just started studying about wealth. And I just committed to living a healthy, wealthy lifestyle. Not that I'm materialistic, but I just started, like, when I started to read the Wall Street Journal, and then
It's
when
knowledge. Yeah.
it's knowledge, but about the culture of wealth. See, when I was younger, I was always driven to make money, but I sold drugs because that's what I knew. But so once I became spiritual, I said, well, I can't deny that I have a tenacity to build wealth. That's just me, because
Yeah.
I love doing things for myself and other people. I'm very generous. So
Right.
I just can't do it in a way that's illegal and immoral. Because some
Yeah.
things that's legal, but it's also immoral, right? So, and once I got into the Wall Street Journal culture and started to see like the full spectrum of the world, right? And not just DC and not just America, but
Internationally, yeah. Globally.
right? And then when Jay-Z got to rapping about Basquiat and Rembrandt, because I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, right? And I started to study about the history of the art world. Then I started to see, like, I didn't even know that poetry was art. And I was writing poetry books.
Right.
Even know that I could enter the world as a spoken word artist and as a poet, and that I can utilize my intellectual property to build wealth and to help people. So
Yeah.
those was like those moments that changed my life. And
Your mind state, really. Yeah.
yeah, even today, like, with the quarantine, we're all on quarantine, and I didn't start painting until I did the quarantine. But now I have like 40 paintings. I'm selling paintings. I just got contacted by a gallery in London today that want to do a show with me.
Oh, that's cool, because then we can get you the show in Amsterdam in no time.
Yeah, so the Bomb Factory, shout out to the Bomb Factory. They want to do a show. And but I've done all this just in 3 months.
Right. Again, very inspiring. I'm trying to be like you.
Mm-hmm.
It's aside from the whole information and knowledge that you soaked up and are applying today and are teaching others to prevent them from possibly getting in the same situation that you were in, educate the younger generation, because whatever happened to you is still happening. That's why we see all the protests around the world.
Right.
Systemic racism that exists everywhere, even over here.
Right. And it's not about defunding police. That's, if you defund police and you don't take that $18 million that the mayor of DC want to put to the police, if you don't take that and reinvest that into repairing the harms that happen with redlining and
yes,
you don't put those economics
right,
small business of black business owners, then you're still going to have the underlying problems of poverty And
it will continue. It will continue because the opportunities will still remain the same as they are now, which is not the same. It's not equal.
right.
We don't, as far as I know, I have to be honest, I did not do my research on this side, but we don't have any sorts of thing as redlining, in
Right.
my opinion. So if anybody's watching from the Netherlands, correct me if I'm wrong. Going into that, yes, so the knowledge that you're now applying and into your own life and into educating others, when you were inside, when you were in prison, how was it for you to realize how technology developed so quickly? Because I don't know what information you get when you're inside. So how did you learn about all of that?
I would, the Wall Street Journal, because I got it 6 days a week. The Wall Street Journal has an art section, it has a travel section, it has a sports section, it has a tech section. So I was knowing things that was going on with technology that people in the street.
That's great.
Because I was constantly reading the papers and then reading magazines. And then, so once I got out I knew that it was no way that I wouldn't be successful, because once I got out and had access to a smartphone and a laptop, and I can reach people like you in the Netherlands, and I can reach somebody in London.
Oh yeah, you go like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
Because I had a story. I had a story to tell, and I wasn't telling it from a place, and I'm not telling it from a place of anger. Though, as James Baldwin said, a person who's been socially constructed as black in America would be justified in being angry.
Yes, yes.
Telling it from a place of love and educating people that love is not synonymous with passivity.
No, yeah.
And love is strength. It's not weak.
It's amazing because when you hit me up, that's all I felt, positive energy. And then when reading your story, I'm like, how are you not angry? But obviously you had time to, process all of that. And you've transferred your anger into educating people with love and try to prevent this from happening, I guess. Trying to make a change. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah, for me as a because I grew up as I boxed from the age of 6 to 11. And when you take any type of martial arts, self-defense training, you learn that the last thing that you want to do is enter combat and being angry. Right?
Yeah.
Calm and steady, And in America, we are fighting for our human rights to exist. And you can't even do something as simple as go bird watching in Central Park.
Right.
And
read a book in your car.
Yeah, without being under the threat of, being attacked. So understanding that it's open warfare. It's just fought on so many levels. And I know that my goal is to make myself and others more loving to themselves and others.
Yes.
Because when you're happy and you're loved and you're self-love, you don't really want to go out and put your foot on somebody's neck.
Right. That's true.
You're just too damn happy. You like, look, man, I'll give you a pass this time, man. Just be, because you just want to get home.
Yeah.
So.
But that's you, though. Having been out for over a year now, was there at any point in time where you figured out how society is right now and, you being able to get shot at any point of time in your life? Weren't you scared to go back in for no reason again?
Well,
has that been a fear?
You got to understand that I was raised in the murder capital, and I went to prison as a child. I didn't go to the camps. I went to Lorton. I went to the prisons where guys was getting raped and killed, and I just never was my thing to live in fear. So
right. You've seen it all. So
I feel that what you fear is is a very strong force that tends to attract things to it.
Yes.
Right. So for me,
Yes.
it's understanding that we attract what we want and not what we are. My affirmations
Yes.
is to live a personal lifestyle of health and wealth. So if I am healthy and I am wealthy internally, then predominantly that's what I should be attracting.
Yes.
And I can other than that, then it's a reflection of something other than that in me. Right.
That's amazing.
I go out my door in fear. I go out of my door in love. Right. And whatever comes my way, I'm gonna deal with it lovingly. If I had to defend myself, I'm gonna defend myself from a loving position. And I'm gonna do it the best way. You know?
Yeah. So let me repeat that for the people that are either tuned in now or watching back later. Put out into the world what you want to receive. Again, if you go out there negative, you're going to experience negative things. If you go out there positive, you're going to experience positive things. If you give out loving energy, you're going to receive loving energy back.
And if you give off loving energy and you encounter negativity, you don't have to reciprocate it.
Right.
You can be even more forceful in positivity and drown
Or
in
walk away.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you're
No,
going
that's very good.
Counter negativity, no matter how positive you are. But it's how
yeah. There's always people that are negative.
you have to respond with grace.
Yes. Well, that's I mean, obviously easier said than done. That's something that we all have to keep putting into practice before it becomes a habit. Especially in these times. I caught myself last week having anger and build up emotions from microaggressions that I have encountered all of my life. Mm-hmm. And I had a terrible ignorant discussion with a person in my circle, and I felt myself boiling on the inside. And for people that know me, I'm a very positive, happy-go-lucky person. So it scared me how that made me feel, and I immediately exited that conversation. Mm-hmm. Like I was just so shocked by how it made me feel, and I had to check myself on where that came from. Right. But it was scary for me because I'm not that person. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just showed to me that there's a lot of stuff that I've ignored.
But you are that person, though. See, that's the thing.
Yeah. I am that person, but I just...
We are the light and we are the shadow.
Yes.
We are the light and we are the shadow, because without being the light, there would be no shadow.
Right, and vice versa. Yeah.
But we look at that part of us and smile at it.
Yes.
And like, I am the shadow, too. But when I am light, I know how to govern the shadow.
Yeah.
But we are positive and negative. Life is dichotomous.
Yeah, yes, you're right. But well, I guess I would have to tell you a whole bunch about my background, which I'm not going to get into. But for me, it stirred up something in me that I did not want to, I didn't want it to overrule me. Right. I had to take a step back and process those feelings and realize where it came from instead of just reacting to them. Right. If that makes sense.
Of course.
Yeah. So that was a realization for me last week. And honestly, I took all weekend to heal myself from that because it was very intense for me. But yeah, so put out positive energy and you'll receive positive energy back. That is 9 out of 10 times has been my life since I've made that change, because I used to be a very negative person as well. Mm-hmm. And if I look back at myself from that time, then I wouldn't want to be my friend. I would have ran out from all that negative energy, because it literally, if I encounter somebody with a whole bunch of negative energy around them, it literally makes me sick. Mm-hmm. Like I get nauseous. I just get a headache. It's like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. If you've trained yourself so much to only deal with positivity, right, that little spark of negative is just
toxic.
No, yeah. All right, let's get into your work that you've done since you were out. I saw the video when you were released. It was obviously very emotional. As a person, before we get into the things that you've done, as a person, what was the first thing you did when you got out?
Oh, hug and kissed my mother. Went to my mother's house, ate some of my mother's food, took a shower at my mother's house, and got to my smartphone and my laptop and got right to work.
Where did you get the stuff from? Your mom got that for you, or did you save up for that yourself?
I had a team of people that had, had stuff. I bought my Apple Watch before I got somebody to give me an Apple Watch before I got out, and I bought.
Were you able to use that inside?
No, I had somebody on the outside to get it.
Okay.
So I had my iPhone. I had my Apple Watch and my iPad. I mean my laptop. Somebody let me use their laptop. I wanted to go to the store myself and buy my phone.
Right.
I had like a iPhone 6 for like 2-3 days. Then I went to the Apple shop and got my own iPhone, and then I got my own laptop. And they had an in-store experience, and that was good because I ended up doing a series of talks at the Apple stores in D.C. and San Francisco.
Oh, wow, nice.
So yeah, that was like the first thing I did, and I just got straight to work on social media, just promoting.
Yeah, I bet you got that down within an hour.
Yeah.
What is the biggest lesson that you, or not even the biggest lesson, what is the biggest shock, I guess, or surprise that you encountered when you got out? Like something that you didn't know yet, didn't read in the Wall Street Journal yet. What is something that really surprised you? Like, oh, wow, this is happening in the world.
What really surprised me was it wasn't like a surprise. It just was like a hell of a learning lesson when I went through like my first intimate relationship, and that didn't work out, and going through the process of ending that and then transitioning to my relationship now. Then I got married, and then now I got a child on the way. So it was just like, it was just very interesting how I had no experience in dealing with women, and how I went through that failed relationship, and how having to hurt someone to end it, but it wasn't healthy for me. So I had that. And then transition to a relationship that was more healthy for me. It just was like, it was something that I never experienced in my life. And now, so, when I'm experiencing this, and it was intense. Because I don't know one, but she was hurt, and I understand. But it just taught me so much about how you can love someone while you're in prison and write them letters and things of that nature and visits. But when you get out and live with them, it's a completely different experience when you see their hygiene habits, and do they snore, or how do they wash their dishes, or it's just a lot of little different things. So it was beautiful though. It was intense, but it was beautiful.
And it's not different than people meeting online.
Right.
And not being able to be around each other and see each other's habits and how they live. Obviously, it's not completely the same, but as far as experiencing each other, you can have the greatest conversations on the phone for months or years. And then when you see the person and you actually have to be with them 24/7 or live with them, that might not always be great.
Right.
So for you to do all of that within a year is like amazing to me, and congratulations on the marriage and the soon to be added family member.
Yeah.
So excited to see that happening, and I'm sure for you have so much knowledge and information to pass on to your child. That's going to be a very great experience for you as well. Okay, moving into the work. So when you got out, you got your laptop, you got your phone, and your boom. I already see you sitting behind your laptop, doing all your research, putting your work out there. What is the first big work project that you did when you were out?
Well, as soon as I got out, I had started a media production company with someone before I got out. And it's like the week before I got out, we had made it to the finalist round for the Echoing Green Fellowship, which was one of the biggest social entrepreneur fellowships in the world. And so I had to go to New York and pitch for that. We ended up getting that. And then the same week I got the Halcyon Arts Lab fellowship. So I got those 2 fellowships back to back. So that like income and tap me into a social capital network.
Right.
And then spoken word performances at the By the People Festival in D.C. So then I started like getting out there doing spoken word. It's called the first big things that happened for me. Like all that happened within like 60 days.
Right. That's amazing. You must have felt great. Like you're out there, you're now finally able to live a life, an actual life, and you're getting to do it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have time to make up for, or are you just taking it as it goes?
I don't even understand the concept of like how to make
up for time. Yeah.
I'm present and I practice mindfulness in the moment. So because I didn't like lose anything with my time. Like I can look back on my life and be like, well, I went to college, I published 11 books, I had my own publishing company.
Yeah, you're right.
I had great teachers. It don't matter whether I was in prison or not.
Right. You did a lot.
Great teachers. I accumulated so much cultural capital embodied that allowed me once I got out to be able to obtain economic and social capital because I mean the things that I read and how much I poured into myself and had the open-mindedness to let other people to pour into me. So I don't feel like I lost anything with my time.
This is really great that you're saying that because again, for those who are listening or those who are watching back, there is absolutely no excuse for us to not do things that you want to do in life. There's just not. If people can do it from a confined space, then we can definitely do it from our homes or wherever we are. Okay, so then going to, I want to talk about the performance you did with Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about? Was that through Kim?
Yeah, that was through Kim. I had went inside. Kim she was doing a story about my childhood friend, Mama Lou Stewart. So we went inside the jail with her, me, Mark Howard at Georgetown, and Kareem McCraney. We went inside the jail. We filmed with her, talked to her. And then when Mama Lou came home, she wanted to introduce us to Kanye. So when Kanye was doing the Sunday service at Howard Homecoming, she invited, we actually got there before Kim did. We was there like 7 in the morning. We talked to Kanye for like a couple of hours. And then we like went out with the choir for the Sunday service. I had no idea that he was going to let me
do that whole thing.
Yeah, you know, he did that. And then we talked to Kim afterwards and went to he had a listener session at George Washington University for his Jesus is King album before that.
Right.
And it just was cool. You know, Kim very down to earth, very passionate about learning about the prison system. And it's always good that, you know, the encounters that I had with her has been really good. Kanye is it's good that he has Kim as his wife because she balances him out. You know, she balances.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, she balances him out. Kanye is he's very confident and very gifted artistically. It's just that sometimes certain things that we quote take certain research because statistics can be skewed, right?
Right.
And, so by her doing research on criminal justice and becoming a lawyer, it balances him out because it provides him with greater, more credible information on something he may say about certain issues that sometimes that people don't agree with. Yeah.
I mean, that completely makes sense that they balance each other out. And I think that that's really good for him, especially.
She gives her, like she said, when she met him, that's just the first time in her life that she felt like she can do anything in the world. And she didn't feel that she met him. And having him gave her the faith in herself that she can become a lawyer at the age of 40.
That's amazing.
So they balance each other out.
And they encourage each other and motivate each other to do what they want to do and chase their dreams and goals.
Right.
Nice bridge towards where I'm going. You are set to travel the world with your art, with your, spoken word, your paintings, but also your knowledge. You can be as a motivational speaker and a social justice activist. So what is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is, first and foremost, I want to be healthy, right? Physically fit, mentally fit, spiritually fit, and then financially fit, which is wealthy. And my goal is right now is I want to have a goal where I reach 10 million liquid cash, and not net worth, but just cash. And then once I reach that stage, and I really want to network with different like millionaires and billionaires I know, to do a lot of like philanthropic work in the space of arts and entrepreneurship. I want to help these. How many Jean-Michel Basquiat's are being wasted and being gunned down in the streets or in prisons because they don't have a space that they can go to that will develop them, not just in the practice as artists, but give them the business side as well. So I'm very passionate about creating that space for creating that.
Oh, I was losing you for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so creating a space.
Yeah.
And that globally, I would, assume, not just
globally.
the United States. For those who are still tuned in, if you have any questions for Halim, please make sure you use the question box. I've been so in this conversation that I kept forget to mention that, and I wasn't really paying attention to all the comments. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the question box so I can ask them. Okay, so we're now in a lockdown. Unfortunately, you're not able to travel over here. Not having been outside the United States, or at least in Europe, what would be the first country that you would want to set foot on in Europe?
For me, being inspired as a writer, my favorite writer is James Baldwin. So just to have the opportunity to experience just a taste of what he felt being in Paris, right?
Paris.
Of course, I would want to start there, but I'm open to going to wherever the universe take me.
Right.
Like I said, I just got interest from London, but I also gained some traction in Berlin. So some traction in Sydney, Australia as well. So
awesome.
It's a matter of waiting for things to kind of like open up with the physical stuff to see which or where. But Paris is just because of James Baldwin. But I always wanted to go to Amsterdam. I always wanted to go to London, and I just look forward to just sharing
see the world
and sharing this artwork. I love painting now. I just started doing it in March during the quarantine. I'm very deeply influenced by, of course, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and I was introduced to him through Jay-Z. So I'm just looking forward to living this healthy, wealthy lifestyle globally, and being that type of individual. Like, when he or she comes around, you just feel more loving and more happy and more joyful, and just spreading that love globally, and having the humility and the open-mindedness to understand that the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement, and allowing people to pour into me as well.
Yeah, that's what art does, and that's what performances usually do as well for artists.
Right.
What is the biggest feeling you get out of creating art? Is it love? Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it?
It's all of that. It's all of that, because like for me, I'm a nerd, so I love to learn. So I love to do research when I'm working on a piece. Then I love to work. I love to work. I love to do the work that I do. And also it's a joy because I know I'm creating something that not only has like impact socially, but it's
Yeah.
a tool I can use to build generational wealth. So when I look at John Michelle Basquiat painting just sold for $110 million, and I feel joy, like I can actually put my work in a trust to where as though my grandkids or great grandkids, if I'm not even alive, can have something that I created,
Yeah.
my pain and suffering, and use this as an asset to take care of themselves, so they don't have to go through what I went through, financially anyway.
Right.
So, and all
That's amazing.
wrapped up in the work when I do the work, and it brings me immense joy.
Well, you're gonna have to make me a piece out here so I can have one too.
So just
Okay, so before I'm going to wrap this up, I want to ask you what advice you can give people at this very moment, living in this turbulent time of coronavirus and anti-racism protests all over the world.
For me, what I first want to let them know is that don't automatically assume that African American people are feeling bad now. Like those of us from urban inner cities, we've been living under the threat of death every day. The COVID is just another thing. So we used to gun violence from police, from black on black gun violence. We used to being lynched from trees and falsely convicted. So we still mourning Emmett Till. So this is nothing for us. And secondly, just don't run away from the moment. Like when you can do everything you can do. When I had the life sentence, I went to the law library. I filed motions. I wrote letters to the judges and lawyers. But at the end of the day, I had to understand that if at the end of the day I'm still in prison, I know that I am exactly where the universe wants me to be, not a centimeter forward nor a centimeter backwards.
Yeah.
I trust one of my mentors, Ernest Smith, who I quote again. He always told me to trust in your destiny. Trust in your destiny. If you are good, you will attract good. If you are mercy, you will attract mercy. So it's just a matter of time. Universal law overrides all man-made law. So if you are not in a place right now due to the COVID lockdown where you would like to be, like I had an art exhibit at the MoMA PS1. I would have liked to have done that.
Yeah.
But the universe put me here to be in a quarantine to transcend from just doing photo poetry to painting, right? So just be present, be mindful, and always look for the opportunity to do the best, even in the worst of times.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Another thing I want to ask you, you've mentioned a whole bunch of books and writers that have helped you during your time in prison. Is there such a book list on your website?
No, I'm in the process. I don't even have my paintings on my website yet.
Well, I would love for you, if possible, for you to draft up a book list of inspiring books that people can go to on your website and feel like, hey, I should read these books, like recommendations that helped you. I
am currently in the process of updating my website. I don't have any of my visual artwork on there yet. And as soon as I do, but in the meantime, I can draft a list and create a Google Doc for it.
Right.
And I'll send you the link for it.
Oh, that'd be great. Because, yeah, I would love to at least read some of the or all of the books, because I have a lifetime to go, that have helped you, so I can experience the same feeling probably out of reading the books. Then people who want to buy your art, again, you're updating your website, but how can they reach you now? Through your Instagram or your website?
Instagram is the easiest way to reach me. I think like even the concept of website is like outdated, because Instagram is
a digital business card, really.
I mean, Instagram is your website. It holds all your information.
Not for everyone, but
for me, I'm just looking like vacation. You go to my website because you want to see my artwork and you want to contact my manager to buy my artwork, or you want to contact me. You can do that on Instagram.
Okay, so find him, very easy, Halim Flowers on Instagram. If you have any questions for him, feel free to hit him up. I'm just going to put that out there. If you have any questions for me, feel free to hit me up. I want to thank you again for being a guest, for reaching out to me. I feel like I've learned so much in the short time that I've known you already. It has sparked new interests in me as well, as far as what I want to do in life. And you definitely have inspired me to be more efficient and more focused, on top of everything else. So I can't thank you enough for that already.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for considering me for your exclusive platform in Amsterdam. I look forward to coming. I look forward to speaking. I look forward to exhibiting my artwork and just learning and just sharing and, you know, and just being present and being joyful.
We look forward to receiving you here with open arms and all the love and positivity, because you're putting that out there. So we're giving it back to you.
Thank you.
For everyone else, I will be continuing the What Now series on Wednesday with another inspiring person. Halim, again, thank you. Have a wonderful day, and hug the belly for me. Yeah. And we will talk soon.
Namaste.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.